Hi everybody, this is Jennifer Phillips-Russo and Kevin Martin from the Lake Erie Regional Grade Program, and we're here to bring you a podcast to talk about labor relations and the changes in the laws that are upcoming. So, Mr. Martin, are you having a meeting coming up soon to talk about this?
Yes, so this law only affects our New York State growers or anybody doing business in New York State. So, if you happen to live in Pennsylvania, have some grapes in New York. But that being said, this passed this summer in July or August, and it will go into effect January 1st. The law passing in July was a bit of an issue because it does take time with sweeping reform like this to create some regulations so that we have some clarity in terms of how it's going to be applied. So I think we're as good as we're going to get in terms of meeting on the 23rd at 10 a.m. We're going to know what we know and do our best to be in compliance or show you how to be in compliance with these new laws. There have been some frequently asked questions posed to the Department of Labor that were answered last week and should be posted shortly, or perhaps they already are by the time you see this podcast. And that will sort of be the final interpretation of the law that we see before next year, as far as I know. So that's kind of part of the reason we waited as long as we did, is it seemed to be an evolving issue. But we'll tell you what we know this coming Monday.
Monday here at CLEREL in
Yes.
Portland, New York? Okay, perfect. And who's invited to come to that? I'm trying to get the information out to you.
This information is going to be relevant to all farmers, so anybody who wants to come can come. Have been a lot of resources available to farmers. Farm Bureau, Department of Labor, Cornell University have all been working together to try to get this information to farmers. So if you already feel like you have a handle on what you need to do in January, feel free to skip this meeting and enjoy your holiday. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, you must have been really busy this year and getting your crops in and not worried about labor regulations, but you need to get there by January 1st, so make sure you attend if you really have no idea what I'm talking about. So
I would like to play devil's advocate and be that person who probably might not know exactly what you're talking about. What are the sweeping changes? Is it going to affect me if I am a grower and I do have employees? And what is it that I need to be extremely worried about? Like, maybe there's a couple little changes and I'm not going to worry too much. It's too much time to go places.
Sure. So a lot of these things are, it's stuff that the rest of the employers of the world have had to do for a number of years. Most of these reforms came about almost 100 years ago. So now they're just hitting agriculture. So what that means is there's overtime. It does look different than it looks in the rest of the market. So over 60 hours or on the 7th day of work, which I don't really want to get into. We'll see on Monday if you want to figure out what that means. There are other issues that are wrapped into this law that will affect some farmers differently than others. So, for example, unemployment insurance. If you're a very large farm, you probably provide unemployment insurance. You had an exemption from providing it and you lost it, and now you provide it. If you don't provide unemployment insurance because you were not large enough and you were exempt, you will now have to, unless your payroll is below $300 a quarter. So basically everybody. Workers' compensation, same thing. Although that exemption was fairly low, but now it will be everybody. We'll have to provide workers' compensation. Disability insurance, which is basically insurance for injuries that take place outside of the workplace. This seems pretty foreign to most of our farmers, but for New York State workers and New York State employers that are not involved in agriculture, they should be familiar with disability insurance. So you'll have to get up to speed on that. Paid family leave as well is another issue that's wrapped into this legislation, and that's a new one for most employers. So that may not be something you've heard of, especially if you're involved in agriculture. So most employers just started doing that. It depends on what type of employer they are, but in the last few years, paid family leave has become a thing, and now the rules of that will apply to agriculture as well.
So then my question is, this is going to be approximately how long of a meeting on Monday the 23rd here at CLEREL?
I'm going to cover what these programs mean and how you comply with them, and then we'll be here to answer your questions for as long as you want to stick around. So it could be over in a half hour.
So that short amount of time could save them potentially how much in fines?
I have no idea.
trying to help farmers out so that they don't get in trouble. It's probably well worth your time to come and see us Monday morning at 10 o'clock here. If you can't happen to make that one, Dr. Richard Stupp from Cornell University Labor Relations, he's going to be part of our Winter Growers Conference, but that's not until March 19th of 2020, which is after the law takes effect. So I would really encourage you to come out and listen to Kevin and ask any questions, and he can resolve that for you this Monday.
And just along those lines, what we want to do in this meeting is make sure you understand what the rules are. In 2020 and 2021, the unemployment insurance and the overtime rules are going to be relatively expensive, particularly overtime if you're not already paying it. So those are areas where we want to, in the future, help provide you with information about how you can minimize your labor costs, and whether it's making capital purchases or hiring additional employees, but start thinking critically about how your labor works and how you can minimize its cost. With some of these rules, like workers' compensation, disability insurance, or paid family leave, the costs themselves, the direct costs, are insignificant. The only issue with some of those programs is that they can result in more leave taken by employees. So right now, a lot of employees anywhere, but particularly farm employees, if they don't come to work, they don't get paid. Because of these programs, they will potentially have access to other forms of payment. So you may need to be a little bit more nimble in terms of making sure you have workers ready for harvest. If somebody, gets hurt at work, or has a reason to take paid family leave or disability, all of these things, perhaps, if somebody was injured badly enough, you may lose access to their labor anyway. But because these insurance programs provide financial safety nets for workers, they may take care of themselves before they worry about your fruits and vegetables. So you need to be a little bit more nimble with your labor force, but what we're really going to also be focused on is reducing that overtime cost and making sure you understand it in 2020. And I think that's why Richard is partially going to be here for our Growers Conference in March, because if you have overtime or paid family leave or any of these programs that you're not paying by March, you're already going to have some issues. So we want to make sure you're compliant, and then we'll try to help you become sustainable with these regulations in the future.
Perfect. And we'll go more in depth on Monday.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. If they have any questions, maybe to prep, if you want to submit them.
Absolutely. That would be great. I make no promises. There are other programs that were part of this labor reform, so you may have some questions that I'm not able to answer. I will certainly get back to you. But if you want to submit those ahead of time, we'll make sure we get answers for you.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you on Monday.